All right, today we're diving into something really critical. It's a crisis happening at the very heart of Liberia's education system. We're talking about the missing exam scores. I want you to just imagine this for a second. What if your whole future depended on a test you could never actually see? Think about it. You study for months, you pour everything you have into one single exam, and then all you're told is that you failed. And you're never, ever allowed to see your score or your answers or even figure out where you went wrong. Well, for thousands and thousands of students in Liberia, this isn't some hypothetical nightmare. It is their reality. And believe me, it's creating a crisis of trust that goes way, way beyond the classroom. So let's really get into this. What we're looking at here is a crisis of clarity. The whole problem really boils down to how these exam results are being handled, or maybe more accurately, how they're not being handled. It leads to this huge, profound lack of clarity. And the organization right at the center of all this is the West African Examinations Council. You'll see it called WAEC. Now, these are the folks responsible for giving out those major make-or-break exams that pretty much decide a student's entire academic future, not just in Liberia, but in other West African nations too. Okay, look at this. The contrast here is just staggering, right? On one side, you've got what everyone expects, a detailed breakdown of your scores, subject by subject. But on the other side, you see the reality for so many students in Liberia. Just a single status, failed, please resit. That's it. No details, no feedback, absolutely no closure. So let's be super clear about what's missing here. Students are left completely in the dark. We're talking no subject-by-subject results, no explanation of the grading system, and, this is the big one, no opportunity to even review their scores. This is so much more than just an inconvenience. It's a complete systemic failure. And, a failure like this, it doesn't just stop with the student. It creates this huge ripple effect that touches everyone, families, entire communities, and honestly, the nation as a whole. I mean, for the students themselves, the impact is just devastating. It just causes so much discouragement and confusion. I mean, think about it. How are you supposed to improve if you literally don't know what your weak areas are? It just leads to this huge loss of confidence and can totally derail their future academic plans. Yeah, this quote just hits the nail on the head. A student who doesn't know their weaknesses cannot discover their strengths. Education is supposed to be all about discovery, right? About growth. But this system, it just stops that whole process cold, and it traps students in this awful cycle of uncertainty. And you can see here just how this problem widens. It starts with the students, of course, but it very quickly hits the parents, who get frustrated and start to lose trust. And from there, it just poisons the whole society's view of the education system. So here's the bottom line, right? When people can't trust the results, they stop trusting the system itself. And when that happens, academic certificates start to mean less and less. That faith in the very integrity of the country's education, it just starts to crumble.
And this is where the whole thing shifts. It's not just about logistics anymore. We're talking about a really profound ethical problem. There are some core principles of education that are just being completely ignored.
Okay, so in any education system that's worth anything, there are 4 principles that are just non-negotiable. You've got transparency, being open, fairness, treating everyone the same, accountability, taking responsibility, and integrity, which is all about honesty. These are basically the pillars holding the whole thing up. And as we've been talking about, the WAEC system in Liberia, it falls short on all of them. There's no transparency. It's obviously not fair to the students. There is zero accountability for the results. And all of that just destroys the system's integrity. It's not an exaggeration to call this a full-blown ethical crisis. But, it doesn't have to stay this way. And that's the good news. There's actually a pretty clear path forward, a blueprint, if you will, for how to restore accountability and bring that trust back. So what does that look like? Well, it breaks down into 4 key steps. First, implement a modern digital results system. Second, and this seems like a no-brainer, provide detailed score sheets for everyone. Third, you've got to establish an official appeal and review process. And finally, number 4, the government has to ensure proper oversight. And look, this isn't just on one group. It's really a partnership. WAC needs to step up, provide the full results, and train their staff on ethics. But at the same time, the Liberian government has its own crucial role. They need to monitor WAC, set clear transparency policies, and most importantly, protect student rights. And what's the goal of all this? It's actually pretty simple, but it's also completely transformative. It's to build a system where transparency isn't the exception, it's the rule. And that kind of change, well, it doesn't just rebuild trust, it helps students actually perform better, and it strengthens the entire education system for all.
So, we'll leave you with this question. We've seen just how critical transparency is in this one specific context, a classroom, an exam. So, think about this. Where else can it rebuild our world? Where else could a real deep commitment to transparency do more than just fix a problem, but actually rebuild trust from the ground up?